After the last video, I realized I couldn't leave you hanging, so here's a bonus video with some tips and tricks to help you out. Tip 1. Someone asked why I was trading GBP CAD during the New York session. It's a great question. The reason is that the volatility for that pair tends to be higher in the New York session, so I prefer to trade it then. You can use a site like investing.com to check the volatility of the pairs you're trading. Just remember to convert the time if you're not in GMT by using a time conversion tool. Tip 2. Now let's talk about using ChatGPT. When I ask it to review a website or currency data, I usually follow up with 2 to 3 more questions. It's crucial to specify that I'm looking for a strong currency versus a weak one. Some example questions I ask are, which is the strongest currency and why? Which is the weakest currency and why? If you had to trade 2 currency pairs with a strong currency versus a weak one, which would you choose? If you had to pick just one pair to trade for the following week, which would it be? By then, any potential hallucinations from ChatGPT tend to work themselves out. Tip 3. I encourage you to put some real money into an account and trade with actual capital. This will show you how real markets behave. Demo accounts and many prop accounts don't factor in spreads and fees, which are very real costs. You're likely going to spend money on things like dining out, shoes, or video games anyway. This at least has the potential to turn a profit. Tip 4. When looking into brokers, I've used several. Personally, I prefer companies like 8cap as I've never had issues with them and their spreads are fair. That said, there's always some risk with brokers. In general, look for brokers regulated in countries like Canada, so the USA, the UK, or Australia. I prefer ECN brokers, but I've also used Oanda. I do find that Oanda's higher spreads result in more losses for me. Tip 5. High win rate versus high profit. And this was one of the harder lessons I had to learn. Stop optimizing purely for win rate. You've reached pro status when you're able to live off last year's profits this year. At that point, win rate matters less, though it's still important. Personally, I've noticed that when I win around 70% of the time, my returns are often below 20% annually, regardless of the market conditions. Tip 6. I could have included this in the previous section, but it's separate in my notes. Years ago, I did a deep dive into the best investors I could find to figure out my own process. The surprising takeaway was that a small percentage of their investments accounted for most of their returns. Warren Buffett talks about this. Most of his returns come from just a handful of companies. George Soros has mentioned he only wins about 30% of his trades, yet he's one of the best of all time. The lesson here is to create a strategy that allows your winners to run fully, no scaling out. If you don't, that's your decision, but letting winners run is crucial. Tip 7. This is a good one. It's about understanding our 2 brains, the impulsive and the logical. A lot of traders struggle because they haven't recognized this. So let me explain it. Answer these questions as quickly as possible. What's 2 plus 2? What day of the week is it? What's your first name? What is 7 divided by 2 multiplied by 3.2 times 1? What's the color of the shirt you're wearing? You probably got stuck on the 4th question, right? That's because we have 2 mental processes, impulsive and logical. You answered the first few quickly because your impulsive brain excels at those tasks. But the 4th question is more complex, and if given time and maybe your phone, you'd be able to solve it with your logical brain. As this is an important concept to understand when trading. When you have time to think things through, like on weekends, analyze the data from various countries and make informed decisions. However, During the trading week, rely on simple indicators to manage risk and execute trades with minimal mental effort, because your impulsive brain is great at reacting quickly. I can't take full credit for this approach. I think Larry Williams used a similar method, even if he didn't describe it this way. He was thoughtful in his approach, but kept his setup simple. I hope this gave you some insight. If you want more videos on any of these topics, comment below or just say hi. I'm happy to have you all here. Until next time, signing off.